Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. Henderson?
Here.
Mr. Votel?
Here.
Mr. Duco?
Here.
Mrs. Wolford? Here. Mr. Hendricks?
Here.
Yeah, community input on the 18 school calendar. No, it's just, we're going to do it before the meeting, but we decided to do it during the meeting. Kevin's probably been through this several times. It's a state law. The calendars, basically, want to hear the calendars the same. 178 days for students, 4 in service, and 2 conference nights. However, we do convert them to hours. We did also take out, of those hours, 1 day and 4 days of not 2 hour delays, thank you. I thought we started to do early release and we didn't do that. So the students are actually only being in class 177 days. But when we went from hours to days, one of the things you have to do is you have to have a public input on the calendar, so that was what that's for. There's no change in the start of the school day. That was one of the concerns when people went to the hours, that they would change that. Ours is the same.
Okay. Approval of minutes. Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Votel?
Yes.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolford? Yes. Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes. Treasurer's report.
Okay, for the treasurer's report, we have the check register report, fund balance report, the receipt register report, the monthly board report, as well as the bank reconciliation. Donations received: 2 from Mrs. Perkins, $40 each for the Perkins Tortora Scholarship Fund, $1,000 from Marie Miller for the Down on Main Scholarship Fund. And we also have 4 supplemental budgets to approve: softball, track, baseball, and DI, and the resolution to accept the tax amounts and rates for fiscal year 19.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Discussion.
Jen, you don't have, there's a check number 37937. It's a Dell Latitude computer coming out of the football supplemental. Can you get us some detail on that? You don't need to answer it right now unless you...
There was a request to buy the new football coach a laptop.
What would we do if every coach asked for that? Would we buy it for them?
I don't know, because I wasn't
That's
here when
rhetorical, I
that
guess.
happened. I was sick, so I don't know the answer to that question.
So that went through the purchase approval process, right? Mm-hmm. So that would be
AD, principal, superintendent.
and superintendent.
Yeah, out of the supplemental.
That wasn't in a supplemental budget.
Well, no, because the supplemental budget for football was done by the last football coach. We don't have a new one for the new football coach. Yes.
Okay.
And I think Ed actually adjusted the one we had on file to include that laptop.
Yeah, and I can see doing that because it's nice to see the film and do
Yeah, it's all online
statistics
now.
and go over with the kids, but it would just be like maybe the basketball coach could use it also.
Exactly, I agree. Yeah,
Okay.
because their films are online too. It all goes through that huddle,
Right.
and they all get the same.
Any more discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Votel?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolford? Yes. Mr. Hendricks?
Yes. Public participation. Melissa Baker.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm just kind of here with some concerns for the safety after obviously what's happened and has happened in the past. I just have a couple things that I wrote down that are kind of concerning to me. So I guess I'll just write down say what I have. Since this happened, I have asked, well, I have a daughter that goes here, I have a little cousin that goes here, family and friends, so I'm kind of worried about everybody but My daughter rides the bus in the morning. She gets off here around 7:30. I believe she's one of the last buses. I asked her to text me as soon as she got here to let me know if anyone was standing at the front door. So this just started last week on the 21st. On the 21st, she said there was nobody standing at the door. On the 22nd, she said Officer Madison was at the door. On the 23rd, she said that the janitor was kind of hanging out at the door. I don't know, The 26th, she didn't text me. The 27th, she said there was no one at the front door, but Officer Madison was just then pulling in the parking lot. And today, nobody was standing at the door when she got here. And she's pretty much, like I said, I think she's on the last bus. So I just have some concerns that, is there options for someone to be here like an hour before the kids get here to walk around, check the doors, everything? I don't know the procedure that goes on, but if she's the last one getting off the bus and no one's at the door, that's to me, that's kind of concerning, that anyone could just kind of, I've actually have walked right in with her and nobody has said anything. There's just been some suggestions or maybe ideas that maybe, we have Officer Madison, which is fantastic. If, I don't know how many officers are on duty during the day, if the police office could have an office up here and have another officer here during the day. I know it's a big task and it's a big school, but I think there really needs to be another person here. And then what about safety for extracurricular activities like tonight? If they were here practicing volleyball, basketball, whatever, anybody just walks straight through those doors at any time that they want to. I think there should be one way in, one way out. I don't know the logistics of that, how that would work because of how the parking lot is out front. But I know that since elementary comes in later, maybe that wouldn't be such a problem. But I've been here to pick my daughter up after school, and the doors on the side door down that way is always propped open because aides are taking kids in and out while their parents pick them up, and the door will be propped open, but there's nobody around. So that door's, I know, left open sometimes. I didn't know if the big brown doors out here were locked during the day, and I know also that would be a pain because kids have to come in and out, but there's just going to have to be, I believe, some sacrifices if it's a pain to have a door locked or have your school shut up. What are you going to do? I've also been in here picking Landry up when I've seen former students come in either during the day, get buzzed in and just walk all around, or they're just standing outside hanging around or whatever. I believe or would hope that maybe whoever wants to be buzzed in should have an officer come up before anyone gets in that door, whether it's me, Mrs. Duco, Mr. Duco. They should be not buzzed in until an officer's there and should be escorted, have a visitor pass and escorted to where they're going. Do the students know what to do if they're in the gym or cafeteria, if something should happen? Is everyone just going to, is there a plan to go here or there, or just everyone's just going to run here or there? Student IDs, clear backpacks have been brought up. Metal detectors, obviously. Is there a code word if someone should get in and they come into the office? And if someone could make an announcement and say, instead of saying, we're on lockdown, say, it's, I like chocolate ice cream, and then everybody would know, hey, lock the doors. Are the panic buttons being used? Does everybody have a panic button? Are the door locks being used? Are the doors even locked? I know last year when the panic buttons came in, that was fabulous. I felt so much better. But I heard a lot of people say that they're a pain, and I'm sorry, not the panic buttons weren't a pain, that they were supposed to keep the doors locked. But that was a pain because kids going in and out of the bathroom and all that kind of stuff. So I don't see how that would be a pain considering what possibly could happen. And if possibly maybe every quarter there could be seminars on bullying, maybe do some kind of outreach to work somewhere where students can see, what bullying can do and what it can turn into. And if you understood all that, I'm finished.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll address a few things. Like I said, and like I said, you're always welcome to come to my office and talk. A couple of things. Officer Howder's also in the lot. Our actual report, superintendent report today, is a lot about what you said. Because last year we implemented a 3-pronged program to help with bullying and recognition, and included the SRO, the additional counselor, as well as the Pathways Counseling for Children Center. But a lot of times the car in the lot is Officer Howder. He's in the lot in the morning. Look at Mr. Madison. He is here in the morning and in the afternoon, dismissal and arrival. We have talked about, and you bring up some good points that we've had discussions about. We have talked about the front door attendants, shifting them 15 minutes earlier so someone's here. I try to get down there when I get here as well and greet students. But yeah, we have talked about that, and Officer Madison changes his position at times to be in the lot, people coming out as well as in the building. I definitely agree, and we've talked about that, is after school events. I just talked the other day to Mr. Ridgway, and I said, why aren't we using the football locker rooms for track? Because they prop those doors open sometimes during track season. I said, we can't prop those open. What can we do? There's locker rooms down there. They shouldn't be coming in and out of the building. So I know exactly, like you said, about after hours. So these are things we've talked about, and definitely we're going to continue on, and they're all good points, and I appreciate that. And I wrote down, we're talking about, our goal is to have one point of entrance. And as I said, I think that's one of the main deterrents, is one point of entrance, as well as relationships with the students, to hear things and to make them feel at ease. But I'll say about the lockdown, we did just the other day, we practiced putting the locks in the door, like there is a lot of training that goes on. I know Mr. Rudinsky has discussed, we know what to do, but I know that we have planned a lockdown or a drill during cafeteria time. And I know we discussed that, and he actually put an email out in December saying it's going to happen, the drill's going to happen. We have a plan. We want to see how it's implemented as well, because we have to change it. So a lot of those are being addressed, and the others will. And as I said, I appreciate, and I have some concerns as well. But like I said, the staff does a great job, and I appreciate everything that you brought up.
Rob, the panic buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Do we test those?
We test those on fire drills, right, Ryan? Every time.
I test them over the summer.
They get tested.
Change the batteries and test them.
And then we also, some fire drills, don't we have certain teachers press theirs to make sure that they worked? So we test them.
We had a fire drill today, excuse me, which we made an adjustment to our fire drill since the recent happenings. And some of these things we don't and can't and shouldn't promote. But it's just an example of one of the many measures Mr. Mino is referring to. But today's fire drill, we have the police buttons on the wall that, I tested one of those today. Today wasn't the
Panic button.
panic button. Thank you.
The standstill station you tested?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. And, that one was at the main door. And during most fire drills, we also set off someone's panic button so that we get the feedback that they got the information, and it's channeled through the security system to the fire department.
I just want you to know that obviously most of us up here have kids that go here, so safety is very important to all of us. And we certainly try to do everything we can. And in fact, I've had some superintendents I've seen outside of school come up and actually discuss some of the safety features like the panic buttons and the one-point entrance that we try to implement. But there are certainly procedures and stuff that we need to continue to work on to refine it.
Are we still thinking about having a company come in and audit us for our safety features?
Yeah, I talked to some area superintendents about, then I talked to Officer Howard, maybe the sheriff wanted to do that. I don't know if you have any information on that at this point, Terry? Probably not.
Not at this time.
Not at this time,
He is
okay.
gathering information.
He's gathering information. We had talked about that and having, and going to some schools combined. He thinks he can get something for someone to come in and do that. Yeah,
So we'd be doing like a self-safety audit?
Exactly.
On violent kind of safety?
right,
that type of
active
safety.
shooter or something like that.
Yes, okay.
More? You good?
No,
Thank you.
I know everyone here does everything that they can, and
We certainly try.
Doesn't mean
know
they get better.
everyone's
We
children,
appreciate
right. You know, you just as a, you know, as a parent, all these thoughts go through your head.
Oh, yeah.
My kid's scared to death to come to school, and I was like, oh, God, just go, you'll be fine.
Student achievement. The old, I'm sorry, old business.
Old businesses, where is it? Student achievement.
Student Achievement, February 2018. Congratulations to the following band and choir students for their performances in the solo and ensemble contest this past Saturday at Glen Oak High School. In band, receiving a rating of superior, Sefton Hewlett on snare drum solo, Emily Shar clarinet solo, and the Leetonia clarinet quartet, consisting of Emily Shar, Ashley Smith, Abby Hall, and Maggie Wilson. Receiving a rating of excellent, Sean Greathouse, alto saxophone solo, and the Leetonia saxophone trio, consisting of Sean Greathouse, Jacob Wilson, and Lindsay Rams. Choir, receiving a rating of superior, Samantha Lonker, alto solo, and the ladies ensemble. Samantha Lonker, Jenna Tullis, Isabel Mahone, Tara Phillips, Aletha Wagner, Gianna Harehold, Emily Shar, Sophia Encina, and Anna De Girolamo. Receiving a rating of excellent, Sophia Encino for a soprano solo. Two students performed Class A solos. Class A is composed of the most challenging musical selections and is considered state-level competition. It is judged with a more discriminating criteria than the other classes. Emily Shar received a rating of excellent for her Class A soprano solo, and Anna De Girolamo received a rating of superior for her Class A soprano solo, which was also sung in Italian. Congratulations to all choir and band participants on a job well done. Leetonia students receiving silver keys in the 2018 Northeast Ohio Regional Scholastic Arts Award exhibition hosted by Youngstown State University's Department of Art are Melissa Duke and Kayla Jackson. Melissa's acrylic painting, Pumpkin the Cat, and Kayla's ceramic piece, Leaf Globe, were 2 of 8 pieces entered in the competition. Receiving honorable mentions were Bree Moore for her composition Heat, Emily Shar, My Interpretation of Dreams, Jaden Harehold, Tie-Dye Tarantula, Helena Vadino, Cockadoodle-Doo and Bluebird, and Sabrina Schneider for Sabrina and Sydney. Students who are entered in this scholastic art composition are students who excel in the visual arts and are afforded the opportunity to be recognized and represent their school. The Columbiana County Career and Technical Center students' Career Technical Student Organization participated in Skills USA, a national youth organization that promotes leadership and personal development, on December 18th, 19th, and 20th in Lisbon. Following students who placed will be moving on into the regionals. Under the technical competition, Teamworks by Michael Gamble got 3rd place, Welding Sculpture by Haley Peterson, 1st place, Welding Fabrication, Damon Custer, 1st place, and Austin Possige, 1st place. And in the leadership competition, Extemporaneous Speaking, Marshall Calvin, 2nd place, Ari Russell, 3rd place. Promotional Bulletin Board, Madison Woody and Mackenzie Woody, 1st place. Prepared Speech, Ari Russell, 1st place. Related Technical Math, Austin Possige, 3rd place. Future Farmers of America competition, FFA Creed, Jonathan Kress, 2nd place. Winners for the annual Knights of Columbus Substance Abuse Awareness Poster Contest for 2018. Ages 8 to 11, Drug Awareness, Natalie Entrican. Ages 8 to 11, Alcohol Awareness, Owen Grubb. Ages 12 to 14, drug awareness, Kaylee Colkett. Ages 12 to 14, alcohol awareness, Brooke Fry. Leetonia High School class of 2018, top of the class. Number 1, Tyler Hepner. Number 1, Kayla Jackson. Number 2, John Spioli. Number 4, Ashley Smith. Brianna Lutmers, number 5. Number 6, Ethan Ruley. Number 7, Thomas Kornbaugh. 8, Zoe Brutally. 9, Lizzie Lorch. 10, Caleb Whitmer. Ohio Honors Diploma. Number 1, I think these are just, anyway. Zoe Brutally, Tyler Hepner, Thomas Kornbaugh, Sydney Mesmer, Sabrina Schneider, Lindsay Rance, Kayla Jackson, Josh Sikafus, John Spiola, Jenica Shar, Ethan Ruley, Caleb Whitmer, Brianna Lutmers, and Ashley Smith.
That's them all correct. That's pretty good. I was impressed with that.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for coming, Melissa, because superintendent report this week was, we talked about our bully program last month, so presented this week, which we started this school year, but actually the groundwork started last year at this time, when we brought on those extra services. You know, it's important for me, you know, when I interviewed for this job 9 years ago now, close to 10 in August, I told everybody the most important thing was relationships, and I feel that from my heart. I want the students to come to a place where they know that they're cared about, loved, and respected. And we wanted to do everything to make that portray that to the students as they arrive every day. You know, I was talking over the last couple of days. We have a parent, Jen Merritt. Jen works at the Mahoning County ESC, and Jen actually has worked on her doctorate, and she said that she'll be more than happy to share some of her paperwork. She's doing a paper now with Chris Amata, the legal and part of, we're talking about school safety. And this all ties in together. And she was actually in Virginia when the attack on Virginia Tech. And she's gone back, I think she said 1743 to the first school shooting, and studied every one as part of her paper. She said the common thread is all those people had trauma somewhere in their life and came back to the school. And I think it's just so important for me to have that relationship. I think the one-on-one relationship we have with students, that they can come to us and tell us what they need, and also if they're in fear, they can come to us for safety, and that they trust us and respect us, that they build that stuff they want to see is come. So that is one of the most important things that there is as we one-to-one relationship with students, and those students know that they're cared enough for every day at school when they enter this building. And these other schools keep the students safe by providing a safe, supportive, respectful, and caring environment where students are both secure from physical harm and emotional toxicities, such as bullying, sarcasm, and prejudice. Last year, the district developed 3 additional services for half a year for the second semester of last year to assist with the non-academic barriers that we see here. And that is, we added the school resource officer. And I have to say this again, to talk about a caring community. The school resource officer was partly paid by a donation by a citizen who also paid for the panic buttons. You know, a lot of people in this community that care about each other, and it's a special place. Additional counselor in the morning, plus that works in the afternoon for family recovery, and then pathway caring for children. We also started, well, from that initiative, we started to try to get a behavior prevention intervention program to do bullying assemblies, do both proactive and assemblies and programs, as well as look into situations where students report directly, and having one person as a point person, that would be Mrs. Redarwitz. So now that we've been through a little over half a year in the program, and we tweaked some things and rename some things, as we got to watch what it's been a learning experience, but I have to give it to the board for supporting this. I don't know if anybody's had a program like this, where they actually track and they actually follow up, and they have a dedicated person to all these incidents. And I know, like I said, Mr. Radinsky, I don't want to give out too much information, but I know that there's certain Facebook accounts that Officer Madison has on his tab every morning, and that he's watching, and that Jenna does. So like I said, I can't share a lot, but I want to share a little bit about the program with Mrs. Rydarowitz, Mrs. Dunnigan, and Mr. Radinsky. So if they want to.
Okay. Well, good evening. I want to start by saying, Mr. Mino mentions what a caring staff we have. And with that, I need to explain the fact that, we work very closely together. One of the best attributes that I find, having been here 10 years now, is the people. We have good kids, we have caring teachers, and, a staff really that's second to none. I have people like Mrs. Steltz, Mrs. Radarowitz, Mrs. Rice, Mrs. Vota, Mr. Mino, all right? Myself, and that's not to exclude anybody, Officer Madison, Mr. Clapsaddle, that it's a team effort. People will come into our office and they'll say, well, you won't do anything, or it'll just get swept under the rug. And, the truth of the matter is, there couldn't be anything farther from the truth. And it's hard to convince people of that, but one thing I know for sure, and we approach things in a very team-oriented manner. Mrs. Steltz, Mrs. Rice, Mrs. Radarowitz, the whole list, and the list goes on, isn't going to let me, Mrs. Dunnigan, or anyone else let something get swept under the rug. We do our due diligence, and more often than not, I'd like to think we get it right. Do we get it right every single time? I can't say that we do, but we try. But on those times we don't, we have no problem ever revisiting. If another name comes up in an investigation, digging into that avenue. We've had great resource officers, Officer Diamichis last year and Officer Madison today, and work closely with our local police departments. And no one's going to let one another let something get swept under the rug or ignored. The other big problem is, if we don't know about it, we can't do anything about it. And that's the most frustrating thing. I have 4 kids of my own. And, when I come to work here every day, I can tell you that out of their 2 buildings compared to our building is much safer. I can say that as a parent and as an administrator. But when it comes to these same issues of bullying and not being kind to one another, that's what it boils down to. We try a variety of different things. We're always, much like the safety, looking for new things. We have the Wonder Assembly coming up, where we actually have someone who is a wonder. If you saw the movie Wonder, it's an excellent piece about kindness, about how different people, get treated, and they don't get treated very nicely. But, we look at this as a behavioral prevention intervention program. This whole picture. What can we do to help these situations? And we're constantly getting information that maybe allows us to approach it a little bit differently. But, I want to do my part in saying, we're doing everything we know to do. The best we know how to do it. And you won't find a better staff, that cares about kids and the well-being of our school and our community. And we're the pulse of this community. We truly are. And there's a lot of good people here. So we're doing our best to do it the best way we can, and with everybody's efforts. So, please keep that in mind. And what we're going to do now is present an overview of our program. And this program started off initially with steps, as you will see, that give everybody the opportunity, and when I say everybody, the team, a chance to get the information and the pulse of what's going on with the student. throughout the course of the school year, just the school year alone, we've found other aspects that it wasn't just somebody is calling me names. We saw, it was brought up that, if someone was in a fight, all right, and we don't have many of those, knock on wood, but, we've come to the realization that it's important to add these people to this list, to be met with, to know they have someone to talk to, and, it just doesn't boil down to come into the principal's office. I encourage them to go anywhere. Teacher, nurse, anybody that's there is willing to listen and help out with these things. So, this plan has been adjusted to try to meet the needs of our students, and it will continue to be. But it's been very, very, very successful to this point. And, the acts of reoccurrence are not something that we see a lot of. A lot of things aren't visual to the outside person. One of the questions I get all the time, what happened to the other person? I can't share that, unfortunately. It's like going to, to get medical help with the HIPAA laws and such. We are not allowed to discuss another student. And that's hard for people to understand and realize. But, we try to give them as much as we can to give them some kind of peace of mind. But you're back to that reassurance of the group. The group is doing the best that we can do. And you'll see in this program, there's a lot of great things. It's been successful. It's been tweaked along the way. I can't speak enough of the effort of Mrs. Radarowitz in her first year full-time here, and the many other support staff that we have. So I'll turn it over to her, and we'll answer any questions you might have.
Evening. Sorry I'm sitting here. I just feel more comfortable with the computer than the remote. I'm going to go through this quickly, and I encourage any questions. We can go back to any slide, but it really is very basic. As Mr. Rudinsky said, this is our behavior prevention intervention program, and it's been tweaked along the way, which I think is really, really helpful, both, for the students, parents, teachers, and just collecting that data on how well it's working. Okay, so basically, and this was kind of our core idea to begin with, we have done a couple assemblies. We do classroom guidance as needed at this point. Eventually, I would like to do that a little bit more structured. Small groups, we are actually starting another small group with 3rd and 4th grade next week with the speech teacher. We do the duct tape pledge. I'm not sure if you've seen out in the hallway going to the cafeteria. The students have signed the anti-bullying pledge. We did a whole thing with that. We do follow-ups with students that we've dealt with. We monitor students, as Mr. Mino said. The relationship between us and the students is so important. Wraparound approach, as Mr. Rudinsky pointed out. Teachers, parents, counselors, Officer Madison, Mrs. Stelz. I think we do a really good job of really making it full circle. And obviously promoting a positive and productive school climate. This is a big thing. The word bullying, I think, is tossed around a little too much. I think a lot of people would agree. This is just something I have in my office. You've got rude, you've got mean, and you've got the intentional over and over and over bullying. The cool thing about what we're doing is we're trying to target all of this. We're trying to get these issues resolved before they become bullying. And please stop me if you have any questions. This is our intervention method. I believe it's outlined in the handbook as well. And when we say offense, it's, say a student comes to me or Officer Madison and says, so-and-so, Joey's calling me ugly. I will speak with them, Officer Madison, Mrs. Rice. The next time, same 2 people, or same kid with the offense. Conversation with principal and counselor. And this is something, as a case 6 counselor, Mrs. Dunnigan and I do often. And it seems to work really well. We kind of meet the student head on, and we have a process that has really nipped some things, which is helpful. The third, call parents, we collaborate, we're all about meetings. And then the fourth would be referral to the Pathways Counseling, suspension, depending on what it is. And honestly, this is kind of really all relative to the situation. We're just doing what we can. Tracking-wise, we have an intervention tracking Excel sheet shared between principals, counselors, Mr. Madison. We tally the incidents monthly, and then I keep hard copies that the students write out themselves of what happened. I think I did this last week. So 79% of incidents reported, they're resolved at step 1. And like I said, a lot of times step 1, especially in the elementary end, is Mrs. Dunnigan and I, but it's done there. Out of 34 total incidents, 2 went all the way to step 4. And that's where you do find those students that do have, those issues. So far so good. And as Mr. Radinsky said, we really are tweaking along the way, trying to take any piece of input we get, trying to make it as best we can. I'm sorry if you can't see this very well, but this is our tracking tally sheet since the beginning of the year. And you can see, sorry, I just put that in the way. You can see that most of them end at the first time, which is good. And again, I'll reiterate, if we don't know about it, it's hard for us to help.
One thing I'd like to mention with regards to this sheet, at the midpoint of the school year, anybody that was on this sheet was visited and just to check in. We hadn't heard from them, and that's what a lot of times happens. Oh, you assume it's resolved in September, and then in May you find out, well, it's been happening ever since. Well, in an effort to prevent that from being the case, our counselors and the principals have, made the effort to reach out to these kids, asking them if there is any problems, and, if they need any other assistance or intervention.
Open for questions, opinions, anything.
You did a very good job. Thank you.
Thanks.
I just want to tell you, you did a good job.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Is there a method for, I'm always a little bit concerned about maybe the person that's getting offended. Like, you may have 3 different kids with one single incident, but it's always against the same individual. So do we have a method to track if any of that's happening?
Yes, and that's also something that personally I think we're all trying to tweak, but that's kind of where the hard copies come in. I literally have a folder of, I don't know, say Joe did something to 4 different people, but he keeps doing it. Is that kind of what you mean? But
No,
it's
I
different
mean,
people?
Joe did something to
Are you talking
Mary,
victim?
Steve did something to Mary.
Yes.
And so we have 3 separate incidents. It doesn't look terrible, but if you're Mary, it's terrible.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
We are tracking that.
Yes,
Okay.
because in our detailed spreadsheet, I mean, it's names, it's exactly what we've done, dates. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all tracked on that, on the spreadsheet that's shared between us, it's all tracked. So if you would go down at Mr. Duco, you can
And
see.
you can see the offended
Well, we
person.
have separate
Yes.
columns,
Okay.
and it says, perpetrator, help me out here.
I
Tom.
think it actually just says
Yeah, it,
student.
student,
and then date, and then
perpetrator, yeah,
perpetrator.
and so if you
The
go,
4
if you
steps.
scroll down it, you could definitely, if that child comes into your office and you open that up, you can definitely see us.
And again, with the relationships, I know for me as one of the counselors, you can pick up on the trends,
Yes.
which is helpful.
It was interesting tonight, I think it was on Channel 27, Brookfield, there was a thing on Brookfield, and they I don't know if they developed it or if they bought it, but they bought a bullying app. And I'm not big on being anonymous, but it allowed a person to use that app to report anonymously a bullying incident. Now, it'd be interesting to talk to them 5 or 6 months from now and see if they got 100 anonymous that made it difficult to track, but it might be worth
Looking,
I
yeah.
really think social media is the way kids want to do it.
Well, and we do have.
I know, we have the thing on the
anonymous
website.
Google Doc,
Yes.
which is helpful, but I don't know if it's that known at this point.
And there's also posters about the Safe Schools 800 hotline. And through recent years, we've only had one phone call made on that.
They can call or text on that, right?
Yeah.
And I have the Facebook page, but I will say this, that having a 14-year-old at home is helping me keep up with social media, and unfortunately, there's more sites that keep popping up, and there's a new one called Musical.ly. So what is happening is these kids can post what they choose to post, and then it automatically disappears. So there's no way of tracking what they're saying or what they're doing. So social media, unfortunately, is a huge, huge issue right now with the bullying, because you can't see it anymore because it's automatically disappearing. So, we're aware of it. It's becoming more prevalent with, our students, but, how do you stop that? It's, so just, it's more and more. It's social media.
Like I said, I want to thank you guys. You're doing a great job, and I appreciate, especially when I come up and say, let's go over this again this month. I know you don't like to come to the office all the time. but as I said, as I continue to report, and thank you again,
Absolutely, my pleasure.
we keep a close eye on it, and as superintendent, I like to keep a close eye on it too. Sometimes I'm watching that stuff all the time, because like I said before, just care so much about everybody in this building, and the safety is the top priority, both emotional and physical, and that's our number one job to do. And I want to thank the board for last year agreeing to hire a SRO, agreeing to hire a counselor. As I go back to the history, I want to thank the board again. Several years ago, during budget cuts, we had to cut the front door attendant before I arrived, and this board brought that back. And that helps with our single point of entrance that Melissa and I were talking about. As a matter of fact, not only that, like I said, Troy had said we don't want to do everything, but that 3M safety tape is there to protect that window there. We have some safety measures because they're sitting right in that corridor. But I want to thank them for bringing that back. I went through it as a bulletproof list of things for safety, as my second part of my report was. Please know that we have many safety procedures already in place and are constantly reviewing and assessing new and changing materials available to schools in an effort to keep our students, faculty, and staff as safe as possible. Some measures that are implemented, the staff is training for crisis situations, safety drills as we discussed throughout the year, an armed resource officer that works in the schools daily, who's also SWAT trained and trained in other tactical areas. Chief Howder does a great job. Chief Howder, we met with the other day. He goes through the lot at least 3 or 4 times a day. He's here in the morning in the lot, and he's here at the end of the day and makes frequent visits. Updated safety technology in our schools, as far as cameras and some other things. Each teacher, with the panic button we talked about, contacts the local police. This door locking system, earlier Dana was showing us a little bit about that in every door, the door lock system, so that it renders the door inoperable from the outside. Our bus drivers, just this year, the board committed, and I appreciate that, to our request for $30,000 for a radio. We put a tower on top of the water tower, a radio tower, so that our buses can keep in contact. That's another area we need to look at, make sure so they can contact the police dispatcher immediately And also, all the administrators have one as well. So that radio system was greatly appreciated and also part of our safety plan. And then, like I said, as we talk about the front door attendant. But as always, that doesn't mean the conversation stops there. We continue to talk. We met again recently, and we're going to continue to meet. And we have discussed things like metal detectors and clear plastic bags, and we have discussed those, and we will continue to. As a matter of fact, Mr. Rudinsky, even a week ago, you checked into it and to buy one for every student. You looked at prices and everything else, and we talked about advantages, disadvantages. So these conversations are always happening. And I want to thank the board for their support, and the administration staff and our staff for everything, because together we can ensure that our students are safety, and I think that we're doing a great job working together. So thank you guys. That's my superintendent report.
New business.
New business. I'm going to do all these numbers separately because some of them are multiple letters. So I'm going to go with first 7A is by itself. Kathy McCoy, title tutor, approved Kathy as title tutor for 17-18, retroactively at 1/22/18.
Motion.
Second.
Larry, Kristen.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolford?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Votak?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
A and B. A is the non-renewal supplemental contracts. Non-renewed all spring and winter supplemental contracts during the 17-18 school year at the end of the school year. The contractual duties. And then B, is Joe Ogle for 7th grade volleyball coach at step 1, and Corey Yokman as junior varsity volleyball coach at step 1 as well. So A and B.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Votak?
Yes.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolford?
Yes.
9 is by itself as well. 9A, substitutes. Approve the following substitutes for 17-18. Richard Stelz for a substitute bus driver retroactively. Roxanne McFarland, classified substitute retroactively. Bill Jackson, substitute teacher and classified substitute. Martha Rosenberg, classified substitute. Doris Mango, substitute nurse. And Lori Hanning, substitute teacher retroactively 2/1/18.
Motion.
Second.
And I think bus driver, Michelle, we're still having trouble getting substitute bus drivers, correct? We borrowed one.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always a struggle.
So,
But
Then-
Mr. Stelz is joining us now, so
okay.
he'll be available for some other trips, which will be nice.
And actually, I had to borrow a bus today as well,
We
didn't
did borrow a bus today.
I? Because of the, and I'd like to thank Crestview and Salem's worked with us too, working with us to help us out with that.
We happily passed inspection.
Yeah, congratulations, that was,
Thank you.
we worked hard on that, so good job.
What's the pay rate
And
for,
ourselves.
the substitute nurse? I know we have it for substitute teacher and
It's
substitute.
85, it's the same.
It's the same as a
It's the
substitute
same.
teacher?
Yes.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Votak?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolford?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
10 has A and B. It's our inter-district open enrollment, admission of students participating under inter-district open enrollment for the next year, 18-19, and approved transportation contract for 17-18 for Amy Smith.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Votak?
Yes.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolford?
Yes.
Okay, 11 by itself, use of facilities. Troy Dinsky, AAA Driver's Education in May. Leanna Yeager, Girls Volleyball Allegheny Camp. Mr. Dinsky for the Steelers basketball game. And Melissa Brock, Lassa Basketball Banquet, March 1st. Tomorrow.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mr. Votak?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolford?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson, Mr. Henderson will be playing in that basketball game, so.
Thank you.
I still got a couple spots open. Any of the rest of you?
Come on, Larry. Grab a stretcher, man.
Mr. Hendricks is going to play.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
I see Mr.
He said only if Mr. Rowley played earlier.
I need a stretcher.
Mr. Fugosha.
Mr. Duco will play good.
I hear Mr. Woolley's going to be off to disable this by then.
Yeah, that's what I heard. We're ready. 12 is rather long, it's A through E. It's the Kent State College Credit Plus agreement between Kent State and Leetonia. Boys basketball field trip. They will be going to YSU game on February 3rd. Approve the Leetonia High School course of study scheduling information for the upcoming school year. D, the memorandum of understanding for College Credit Plus alternative funding agreement between Eastern Gateway and Leetonia. The OSBA resolution. And that will be all.
Motion. Second.
I'll read the resolution. OSBA came up with this actually just, second was Richard, right?
Yes.
The resolution, whereas school violence has become an epidemic in the United States of America, and whereas the children of school employees of our nation deserve to attend school without fear or death or injury, and their families deserve to send them to school without the same fear. Whereas our mutual responsibility of all citizens to address the problem and the responsibility of preventing violent incidents cannot be regulated to school districts alone. Whereas multiple studies have shown that the majority of Americans support action to eliminate violence in our schools. And whereas school board members, administrators, employees, and community members should work together with lawmakers, legal counsel, law enforcement, and security experts to determine how best to ensure student safety in their district. Therefore, be resolved that the Leetonia Exempted Village School District Board of Education implores the President of the United States, the Governor of the State of Ohio, the United States Congress, and the Ohio General Assembly to prioritize the protection of students and school employees by enacting legislation with funding of the following: enhanced mental health services and substance abuse treatment so that all individuals, including children, have sufficient access to these services. And creates access to school safety measures, including but not limited to school resource officers, school safety infrastructure, and other security measures designated to protect students and staff from the active shooter on school grounds. Training for school employees and enhanced coordination with law enforcement agencies and first responders to ensure appropriate responses to incidents of violence in schools, and preserving the balance between the right to own firearms and the protection of students and school employees from any act of violence. So that was the resolution of, I know it was in your packets, but I thought I'd read it for everybody.
We had a motion, right?
Yeah, motion is
Discussion.
So on the resolution, that's a wonderful thing. We need to add a couple other bullet points, like they don't reduce our general fund by
Right.
providing this funding like they did with the lottery.
Exactly. They did, you're right.
And the other thing I would be concerned about is at the local level, you're gonna make changes and spend money as you see fit. 2 years from now, they'll give us a grant, or they'll say you can have money to put in a metal detector. Most schools may have already put it in, so it's almost like this needs to be retroactive, because it's gonna take them so long to act, and at the local level, you're gonna act faster. So if you have any input with our local representatives, you could pass that along.
And I will, because it happened. I remember the Merck's radios and some of those things they have done. And you're right. You're right. That's happened before too.
Right, they're
You're exactly right.
notorious for that.
Yeah, you're right. Good point.
His ears are plugged.
Oh, I didn't see the senator out there.
Roll call. Okay. Mr. Botoff?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolford? Yes. Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
School bus? I got a new bit miscellaneous. Okay, 13A and B. School budget accept bid from Truck Sales and Service, Inc. for purchase of the new 2019 school bus, and Beverly Berger Board of Trustees will approve Beverly Berger as the board trustee for the Leetonia Community Public Library. Their term expires December 2024.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion.
I would like to say that another appreciated, I keep saying this, but the commitment to the bus rotation. When I got here 9 years ago, I think we were running buses from 1996 or 95, and we've made a commitment to rotate those buses out, and I appreciate that because, like you said, buses aren't cheap, and we've taken a commitment, and this will be the fourth of the cycle, I believe, of the 10-year cycle, and so we've done it every 2 years. We've purchased a new bus.
Roll call.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Votak?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolford?
Yes.
Information, discussion information, all we have is that we did receive the letter from the Bears to Be to renew their contract for the upcoming year. We don't have to act on that, it's just in the contract, they have to give it to us by February.
So you need a motion, or you?
No, that's
No,
just
it's just
discussion items,
discussion.
so that you know we received it.
Okay.
Okay? Executive session.
At this point, we're going to adjourn to executive session, and pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121, I move that the board adjourn to executive session for the purpose of considering the discipline, employment, dismissal, promotion, or compensation of a public employee with no action taken, and specialized details of security arrangements.
Forgot to go on the table.
Oh, okay. You can do that now?
You guys want to go on the table? We forgot to.
It doesn't matter. I don't have anything.
You good?
Okay.
That's it?
All right, so motion to adjourn to executive session.
Motion, I'll make the motion for executive session. to
Then I'll second it.
Thank you.
All right.
Include the 5 board members, the superintendent, and the treasurer?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll do roll call. Mr. Duco?
Yes.
Mr. Votak? Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolford?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
We'll meet in here.
What is the cost?